Hi, welcome to another podcast of Kia Consultant. My name is Pankaj Sharma and I am from Kia Consultant, the study abroad specialist. I have had the privilege of working with hundreds of students and families, helping them shape their overseas education journeys. At Kia, we strive to make the process as smooth and stress free as possible because we know how big a decision is to send your kid to study abroad. I'm really excited to hosting today's conversation where we'll be talking about Canada as study destination and the myths spread across these days. To help us with the discussion, we have two special guests. First, Karuna Osman, founder and former president of Illume Student Advisory Services and a veteran international education professional who represented the University of Waterloo from 2017 until her retirement in 2024. A University of Alberta alumni, Karuna has spent decades building pathway for students and institutions across the borders, and today she will be sharing her insight and a remarkable career at the forefront of global recruitment. And joining her is Sean Dillon, the marketing and enrollment manager at Alexandra College in Vancouver, Canada. An alumni of Simon Fraser University, Sean has been with Alexandra College with over 10 years, where he oversees recruitment across South Asia and Southeast Asia with his team. With both his personal experience as a Canadian graduate and professional expertise in student recruitment, Sean offers a unique perspective on what Indian families should know when choosing program, preparing strong application, and adapting their life in Canada. Together, Karuna and Sean will give us valuable perspectives to help students and parents make well-informed decisions about Canada. So, since both of you have studied and done your education from Canada, would you mind sharing the facts? What was the situation earlier, and what is the situation right now? Can I ask you, Karunaji, first? What do you see? What kind of changes do you see now?
So I'm an old timer. My history is 55 years in making. Many changes have come during my lifetime in the sector of education. When I started, there was no difference between international and domestic student fees, and English requirements were still there, but a little bit different. What has happened since I started recruiting and bringing students to Canada, I've seen a change in methodology of recruitment in students' desire for programs in Canada, what they want to study, what they want to do. Many of them come and see this as a pathway to sit and not study as much and become Canadian, those kind of things. But majority of the things that have come to play out in the today's scenario is choice of programs and students coming in and not putting their attention as to what does the society need, what does the marketplace need. That's where there has been some changes. When I talk to parents, I can honestly tell you that the genuine parents still wants the same thing for their children. They want good education, good prospects. Also, kids are not saying that I will just stay in Canada and study and work. I want to study in Canada because I know that my education worldwide is more respected, my passport is more respected, but I want to have the world as my opportunity. So that is one major factor. But the things that have gone array or gone in the wrong direction is we got too many students coming in programs which could not be sustained by the market. There was not 3,000 jobs in one part of Canada for business graduates. So all of those things have become paramount in parents saying maybe Canada doesn't have opportunity. But Canada has a lot of opportunity. I want to say openly and very clearly, you have to understand that every society is working on some numerical data. What is our need? Our needs are healthcare, our needs are education, our needs are IT, computer science, psychology. I'll be very honest, I'm going to joke a little bit. The world is a sick place. We need psychologists for mental health, social health. We also need people who enhance the idea of multiculturalism in our society. We want you to come and be a Sikh or a Hindu or a Christian or a Muslim, But please respect each other's cultures. So you read those stories and you feel that Canada is divided. Canada's policies are not divided. When 1981, the Charter of Rights came, and I came, I was there. That was such a big movement that happened with Mr. Trudeau. And we are still developing the same thing. We are one people, but we are also mosaic. We celebrate. I go to do iftar with Muslim. I go and spend time with the Mata's Mandir. I go for Christmas. Please respect Canada as a multicultural society. That's the thing that is happening. I've given you a very long-winded answer. The thing is, Canada is still open for business. Canada is still welcoming students. And please don't be afraid. It's a beautiful place. In 55 years, I've seen Canada go from small blossom to a big flower. Thank you.
I'm sure that must be a splendid journey.
Thank you.
Simon, what do you think that you are passed out from Simon Fraser University? So what do you think that what students used to think at that time, and what are the prospect now? Or what a student should be thinking, and what do this think now?
You know what? I'll just emphasize what Karuna said, kind of the same thing. When we came in for an education, a good education that would open up doors everywhere. That's, recognize your bachelor's degree, or usually we came in for bachelor's degrees or masters, and it'll be recognized everywhere in the world. They'll give you job opportunities, and that is still very, very relevant today. The education has not changed. Most probably it's gotten better because now we have a lot more faculty coming from very good professionals coming from all over the world. So in that sense, Canada is still very much a place for students coming in for a good education, students looking for opportunities. And when I came in as an international student 30 years ago, there were students coming in from many different parts of the world. Eventually, it evolved to different parts of the world, and these cycles will go on not just in Canada, everywhere. Students will come in from different parts of the world as and when supply and demand or on other reasons. But Canada still will give you a quality education that is recognized the world over. Students can come in, spend semesters in different parts of the world. And why is that so? Because Canadian education is recognized. So I think Canada is still very relevant today for somebody who's seeking education. And that's what Canada wants. Canada wants students coming in for an education. That's what we're looking for.
All right, thank you. So I have few most important questions for me. I'll read it out for you. We have written those with us. With the recent headlines about visa showdowns, housing shortages, and changing immigration policies, is Canada still a good option for Indian students in 2026?
Canada will always remain a good option for students because the quality of education is good, and that's not going to change. That's a fact that is grounded. Even United Nations will tell you that Canadian education is very well respected. The recent headlines have created a little bit of a muck in the market, and the truth of that is that there is truth mixed in falsehood. There are problems, but they have been exaggerated for media coverage, for whatever purpose. Absolutely, changes needed to be made in 2023-24. We had too many students that came in through our private-public partnerships, through programs which I earlier mentioned, having too many business programs, which market could not sustain. And we in Canada are very passionate about anybody who comes from abroad to study. We don't want to send them back disappointed. So everybody stepped up the game and said, hey, changes needed to be made. The best change that came was provincial attestation letter. How it was brought in, and I'm going to speak that, and I will take a risk in saying, was done not in a very systematic way, because we as institutions were recipient of that information just as you were, just as students were. So people read and made bigger stories. What we needed to do was we needed the students not to go to two main primary cities like Vancouver and Toronto. We wanted students to go to New Brunswick. We wanted students to go to Nova Scotia, because there are opportunities and jobs there and excellent, excellent educational institutions. So going back to your original question, yes, Canada is open for business. We get our letters. There are 5 steps, and I will give the steps quickly. You apply. Then you submit your application to the university with your documentation through your agency, like Kia Consultant, and then you wait for university to say yes, they have a seat. Then you make your 1 year tuition fee, which is the requirement presently. Then you get letter of admission and provincial attestation letter. The last part is the right to enter Canada and right to study within that framework. That has three very specific requirements that are needed, which our agencies will discuss. One is your purpose of going there, why Canada, do you have enough funds to support yourself, and sustainability, very important word to be used. Biggest thing is that you are choosing a program that has been approved for postgraduate work permit. So there are steps that have to be taken, and students are saying, I'm not going because there's a large number of rejection. I cannot take that away. Rejection is coming from your ability to show the government that you have funds. I can't help you with that. I can help you with the academia.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn it on to over to my colleague, Mr. Sean, who is going to add to that, that it is not an open and shut case, आपने अप्लाई किया और इंडिया का वीज़ा रिजेक्ट हो रहा है. ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है. रिजेक्ट हो रहा है उनका जिन्होंने रूल्स नहीं फॉलो किए हैं, और CIC की वेबसाइट में बड़ी क्लियरली मेंशन्ड हैं. और बच्चा जब हमको आएगा कह के मुझे फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता है, I don't care, I will take care of it after, is a child we don't want, because he's the one who's going to have issue getting a job. Mr. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, you know what? You're very, very right. Canada still wants students from India. It's not saying that we do not want students from India. Canada wants students from everywhere. But the word here is students. Canada wants students, not somebody who's coming in for a different opportunity. I've met students in India, and I've been on the road for a while now, and I've been speaking to them. And in many conversations, the one thing they emphasize is, I go, why do you can do a 3 years bachelor's degree in India. Why a 4-year degree in India, in Canada? They go the value of their degree, the value of their education, whether I'm in Canada or I move to Dubai or I come back to India or I go somewhere else. They go the value of that degree, depending, and they explain to me about how the difficulty of getting into certain programs, certain universities within India. So they need to find an opportunity. But I think it's the value. And the other thing I'm seeing is that no student has asked me about any 2-year programs or 1-year programs. They are understanding that it is a bachelor's degree. And I believe myself that that's what a student should come in for. They should come in to get a bachelor's degrees. I meet students who have done a 2-year program, whether it's an associate degree or a certificate or a diploma, and they sit with me and they go, what are my career choices? Mm-hmm. It's kind of limited at times depending on what you have done.
Yeah.
But with a bachelor's degree, generally, your choices are a little more open, a lot more opportunity for you. Employers, if you have to go through a resume, bachelor's degree or a 2-year program, if it's sort of a general stuff, they'll pick somebody with a bachelor's degrees because the university prepares you for the world. That's the value of a Canadian education. It prepares you for that. In terms of visas, I don't know about what goes on, but what I do know is that the visa rate we see, okay, it's 20% for Canada, but that's general, all of Canada. Individual institutions vary. There are some lower and many are higher. Universities are much higher. And why is that so? The general visa is 20%. When I've met some students whose financial situation is not strong, but they still want to apply. They're very adamant that I've done this, I've done that, and I think I'll be okay. And if their consultant or their agent or the student applies, the chances of a refusal are pretty high for that student. Or if the SOP is not clear or the path of the education is not clear, but they are still very adamant about applying, I can see why the refusal would happen. So, as Karuna had mentioned, it's sometimes we just look at one number, 20% approval numbers, 80% refusal. But if you look at, if we break down, we go into it, individual institutions, Alexander College is much higher than that. We've always been, touch wood, we've always been higher than what the general number has always been. So there is a difference there. And it's, if I believe if a qualified student applies to Canada, your SOP is clear, your path of what you want to do, what you want to study, and why. based on what you have done. Your financials are clear. And financials is not, the SDS is gone. There's no more SDS. So, we want to see not just money coming in the bank for the last 6 months and sits there. I think we need to see a continuous flow of income. You must be able to sustain yourself for the next 4 years. Tuition fees, your living expenses, your travel expenses, everything has to be. I believe with a case like that, if you have a good grade 12 education, good SOP, good funds, I personally believe that student should be quite possibly getting a visa for an undergraduate studies. And it's a little bit different from masters and postgraduate studies because the requirements are different. But that's Canada wants these students. Whether you're from India or from anywhere, we are still welcoming them.
Thank you so much for highlighting that. So the two guests here, what they have told us, कि कनाडा में वीज़ा है. So it's unlike कुछ और situations के लिए लोगों ने ऐसा मैसेज देना स्टार्ट किया कि रिजेक्शन बहुत ज़्यादा है या कुछ और नहीं है. बट द ट्रू फैक्ट इज़ कि जो फाइल्स बिल्कुल प्रिपेयर्ड हैं, मींस जो अच्छे से डॉक्यूमेंटेड हैं, उनके डेफिनेटली वीज़ाज लग रहे हैं. जो अच्छे इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं उनके डेफिनेटली वीज़ाज लग रहे हैं. ये रिजेक्शन रेट शायद उनका बनाने का क्राइटेरिया था कि आपने फाइनेंशियल डॉक्यूमेंट्स ठीक नहीं लगाए या बहुत सारे इरेगुलरिटीज़ हैं आपके एप्लीकेशन में, तो आपके वीज़ा रेट्स घट रहे हैं. बट अदरवाइज कैनेडा इज़ वेलकमिंग ऑल इंडियन स्टूडेंट्स. So we'll be moving to the next part, which is very interesting now. So the next part here would be admission and course selection. So my question from the experts is, many Indian families still think that Canadian institutes have stricter their policies of getting admission to Indian students. How far is it correct? So that's my first question. And my second question from you would be, in today's environment, should students focus more on colleges with job-oriented diploma or universities with research-based program? So I would like to ask you, Sean, first.
I believe it's a misconception that the admission requirements have been raised. Based on my conversations with many institutions, universities and colleges, not just in British Columbia, but within Canada, many have actually reduced their requirements a little bit just to make it, because the nature of the industry has changed in terms of student expectations and the types of students coming. Within British Columbia, we have this beautiful education system called the 2+2 University Transfer System. A bachelor's degree is 4 years. A student comes in for either 1 or 2 years at a college and transfers to any public university within British Columbia. So you could do a 1+3 or a 2+2. At Alexander College, majority of my students now, we do have 2-year programs, but they're all switching to finish a 2-year associate degree, a block transfer to a university or to a kind of a program that suits them. For example, a student comes in, just to give you an example, for a student from India who has not done math, grade 12 math, or has done not very good academics, and his GPA is maybe 55, 60%, wants to do engineering at a university in BC, University of British Columbia, or Simon Fraser, or Vancouver Island, or University, many opportunities for the student.
Yeah.
They could apply to a college like Alexander College, come in and meet the requirements for the university. They do the first 2 years or 1 year, depending on the university and the faculty. They meet the GPA requirements of the university, and the potential to get into second year or third year is very, very high for the student. So the arts to science transition is available for the students. That's the opportunity available for many students now. So in terms of admission requirements, I personally believe it's been actually reduced a little bit. IELTS scores have been kind of tweaked a little bit for many institutions. We still want students. We do not want to drop the standards to such that, if a student is struggling in grade 12, you're really struggling and struggling in IELTS, the opportunity for that student, yes, he might apply to an institution, but would he be a successful student? We sometimes have to look at that. So we might say no to that student, but that doesn't mean we are not admitting the student. We just want to make sure that we want students who will be successful, who will actually succeed because you have proven it either through your +2, and your IELTS. You have shown us that you can study. That's the type of students many institutions are looking for. And in terms of whether a college degree or a certificate, I'll let Karuna answer that question. She's more qualified in that.
Right. Thank you so much for telling us and giving us this information that it's not that the criteria has gone up. Rather, the expert says it has got lower down a bit for Indians because of the industry these days. So, coming back to the other question, Karunaji, what kind of course and a student should choose, and should he be doing in a college or a university, or should be he or she be looking for a based program, or what? Please emphasize.
First of all, I want to clarify about the English requirements. What does every recruiter want is a student to be successful to pass the courses and get
that's true.
through.
Yeah.
If we start taking 5.5 overall and 4.5 in writing, the student will not succeed.
That's
So
correct.
English language is not a punishment. Let's take the punitive part out of it. It is not a punishment. It is a requirement for you to succeed. I have students who have come with a BA in English and they can't speak 5 words to me. How will they do an MA in English, and will they be in front of an English speaking classroom?
That's so correct.
So choose the program first of all. This is not a good thing or a bad thing to say. If you have choices and you have not said, well, this will be my career, choose the choices what the society needs. On January 1st, there's always a list of where the shortfalls are. Right now, the shortfalls are in healthcare, there's shortfalls in education. If you don't have the acumen or the finances to do a full 4-year degree in something, do the 2+2, or if you have done an education degree here, find a way to do your Masters of Education, or find a job which is, or program which is like educational assistant program, etc. We are not saying that you should not take the programs that were being offered before from various universities and colleges, the 2-year diploma programs. They're still very valid. One of them is AI.
Yeah.
It's a 2-year, very great program that
Yeah.
if you want to take it. IT management, digital marketing, these are all 2-year programs. There is a program in healthcare assistance, which is 2 years. That's a college program. Those are great programs for students who are sitting between 60 to 70. I always draw a chart for students. You've done your UG, and now you have a choice to do postgraduate diploma or a certificate or a course-based master's. If you want to do research-based, you need a supervisor and a thesis proposal, actual thing that you're going to research.
Yeah.
Or you can go towards MBA if you're sitting 70 to 75% and have a GMAT. Look at your qualification, look at the need of the society, look at what you wanted to do in the future, and create a proper match so that you are also benefiting from the education, so is the society, and their employment. Please don't take any program because it's easy to get into the country.
Yeah.
That has been the biggest mistake in 2023. We're not going to let you make that. The visa officer will not accept that.
Yeah.
Also look for, as I said before, postgraduate work permit, because that's an indicator for you that it was approved in the PAL as a viable program for you to come for. So your question is a little bit double-sided sword. Should they take a college program and should they take a university program? Are you qualified for the university?
Yeah.
That's my first thing. What are your grades? What is your language requirement? And masters are required 7, no band less than 6.5. So do you have that? Every student who comes in with a 63% or 60 who wants to go to masters, in my public institutions I deal with, there are no institutions who are able to take that student. 3-year degrees again, 2 or 3 institutions take that. We require a 4-year degree for masters. So postgraduate certificates and diplomas are not bad things. Okay? Whatever prepares you for future employment. No visa officer, and I've been told that by visa officer, and I'll repeat it, they're not in the business of refusing visas. They're in the
Yeah,
business
that's
of
true.
assessing
Yeah.
and making sure that the student is coming in with right knowledge and getting the qualification and has employability and is satisfied. I want to add here, there's a lot of very bad videos out there, really silly videos. I went to the classroom, it is mostly Indian students. Where are the white people? We are truly multicultural. There's Chinese students, there's Cambodian students, we have Philippine students, we have Indian students. That's not correct that we have only Indian students. But remember, The color doesn't make it Indian. We have Bangladeshi students and Pakistani students and Sri Lankan students and West Indian students who look very much like Indian students. That's a statement that I heard in a video, and I was really disturbed that things we are fighting for don't assess people by their looks, because each individual is different. They're coming from different backgrounds. So have an open mind. Listen to your counselor. I want to give a little bit of boost to the agents who are doing this. You are in a no-win situation, because this social media has made it impossible for you to do good work and tell honestly, because the kid is getting some information which is incorrect or false or has a partial truth. So you now have to really promote study in Canada with honest information, with people like myself. I represent many institutions as a retired person from University of Waterloo. I worked for 30 years as a director of international education in Alberta. I have a lot of experience, and kids using terminology these days don't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's so true.
Because Waterloo is not changing the requirements for admission. I can tell you that. Competition is still very keen from Indian students, but what we have done is we've brought programs that are a little bit gentler for students who didn't do math. We have students in Waterloo that can go with great marks, but they didn't have maths. I think Wilfrid Laurier offering BA Biology, Wilfrid Trent offering you BA Computing Science, where math not required. So universities are making those adjustments as to what the curriculum of CBSE or ICSE is, to make sure that kids are coming in and not struggling. There is some news which has some partial truth in it, that local boards of certain states, and I don't know which ones, are being questioned because kids are not taking any academic courses. And Sean has run into them. And then you've taken phys ed and you've taken cooking classes, and you just passed that intermediate or whatever. Those students have a hard time succeeding. They want to take courses in aesthetics, etc. We have them, don't get me wrong. You have to match your qualifications, your desire, needs of the society, and probability of getting a study permit.
Yeah, thank you so much for highlighting these points. What did the expert say is that you need to look at what exactly you have done, what do you want to do, and specifically take those courses which have postgraduate work permits. So we'll be moving to the next part of the podcast. So now we have a few questions from our last podcast, specifically about visas and immigrations. Parents are very curious here. So I'll be asking questions from you, Karunaji. What are the top reasons for Indian students? Students are getting refusals these days. What do you think? What are the reasons why Indian students are getting visa refusals?
First of all, I want to clarify the question. It's not just Indian students getting refusals. Refusals are broad-based. They are from many countries. Identifying the program is number one as to which program, and you are just choosing a program because your aunt said that or whatever. You didn't look at your qualifications. They're not matching. Okay, that would be one of the reasons. And I am it's a hypothetical answer because I'm not a visa officer. I'm not an IRCC member. Yeah. Second would definitely be that the course you have selected has not been nominated for or is a postgraduate work permit attached program, or it doesn't have a PAL. Kids are taking courses or applying for courses and they get refused. They're not even coming to the institution because you can apply, but if he cannot issue Sean cannot issue a PAL, that student is definitely going to not be getting to that point. Next point would be finances. I would probably assume and say that definitely that you don't have finances to support the length of study you're going for. That could be one of the reasons. The last but not least is there some kind of a match to what you did before and where you're going forward, especially for postgrad? If I come in and I say I want to do I've done my BA in history, but now I want to go into culinary arts. There is, but if you had written to me that my parents have opened a restaurant in Chandigarh and I'm the manager, I need to learn, and I'm returning back to provide some supervision. I'm not saying you're going to get the visa, but there is a rationale behind your application. So rationales has to be there, finances has to be there, your academic qualifications have to meet. The university has put into their, or college has put into their website, requires 6.5, and they're taking you at 6. The university must have that on the LOA, that they are giving you English proficiency course, because if that's the requirement, why are you taking this kid at a lower grade? So combined, jointly, we have to collectively see where is the application falling apart. And if it is falling apart because the program is wrong and the kid's intention to enter Canada is not clear to study, that is the key point. You must be a student. And yes, we are all after IRCC and the visa officers for not giving study permits, but they're trying to fix things from 2023. Sometimes harsh decisions, sometimes reapplication does work. Most times, if you can provide what is needed and see where you were at a shortfall. But visa officer is not being detrimental to any students if the visa file is properly structured and health is not an issue, program is not an issue. I don't think that it's a generic, let's cut out students from India.
Yep.
We do definitely want multiculturalism. We definitely want to make sure gender equality is also there. We want to make sure cultural equality and cultural diversity is identified in our schools. People say, well, it's become an all Indian school or all Chinese school, or all the students coming in a particular university are Bangladeshis, which may be true, but that's not the image of Canada we want to promote. I hope that helped.
Yeah, thank you so much. And coming back to the financial part, as you just mentioned, so बहुत ज़्यादा यहाँ पे फाइनेंसिस को लेके पेरेंट्स के बीच में है. हमारे लास्ट पॉडकास्ट में भी दिस वाज द क्वेश्चन विच केम अप कि ऐसे कौन से डॉक्यूमेंट्स हमें फाइनेंशियली स्ट्रेंथन करने चाहिए एक वीज़ा एप्लीकेशन के लिए. व्हाट डू वी शुड बी डूइंग फॉर फाइनेंशियल डॉक्यूमेंट्स?
So that's a bit of a dangerous question to answer because, as I said, I'm not a visa officer. I think, in my view, it would be your continuous income. What are you earning? If you have 6 children and you're spending 80,000 to send one child to University of Waterloo or 75,000, do you have enough money for the education of the other children? So the visa officer doesn't look at just a child. He looks at the totality of the application, from what I understand. My understanding is that how do you strengthen the application? Look at your finances, look at the cost of what is you're wanting to expend. If you're going for loans, all of those things, that's your personal profile that you're presenting. I won't be evaluating that. But if the visa officer has a slight doubt that the student will not be able to make it second, third, and fourth year, will be looking towards a rejection, because now this child will become burden on the university, not able to pay the fees. So it's not SDS anymore, that 1 year fee and GIC and you got the visa. They want to see that for the length of and duration of the education, the child has the support from their source of funding, parents or grandparents, whoever it is. But sometimes I've seen applications that students will bring me in my conversation. My khala will support me in Pakistan, or my chachu in Amritsar is going to pay for it. I'm not sure if that is viable finance, but that's something the visa officer will give you, and please go and read the information, what finances can be used in the file. And there are some very strong information that is available in the market, and students should be forced to do research in what constitutes good finances.
Thank you so much.
And Sean, do you want to add a little bit to that? Because we have discussed that.
Yeah, I think, you know what, it's I've spoken to many partners, in my travels. The loan aspect of it seems to be still prevalent and it still seems to be acceptable. Because for a while it was people started thinking, especially in India, that it has to be their own assets. But no, I've received approvals with students who got loans from banks because I've replied to those banks. So, and a bank doesn't just give a loan. A bank looks at the family's
Assets.
assets and your capability to pay those loans off, whether it's 3, 4, 5 years. So the bank has done the research and shows that yes, this student or this family is able to afford this loan. So I've had many partners who actually use loans to. I wouldn't say to strengthen the application, but to to justify the financial aspect of the application.
Yeah, indeed. That's what the parents were looking at. So पहले बड़ा easy application था 23-24 से पहले कि SGS कैटेगरी होती थी. आपने एक साल की यूनिवर्सिटी फीस पे करी, आपने अपने लिविंग एक्सपेंसेस एक ब्लॉक्ड अकाउंट खोला एंड यू अप्लाई फॉर वीज़ा. अब पॉलिसीज़ चेंज हैं, तो एक्सपर्ट्स का यही मानना है कि ओवरऑल आपकी प्रोफाइल देखी जाती है कि आप अपनी पूरी पढ़ाई को कैसे सस्टेन कर सकते हैं, क्या आप फाइनेंशियली गुड इनफ हैं कि वो पीछे से आप सर्वाइव कर सकते हैं. बहुत सारे लोग लोन्स के ऊपर जाते हैं. सो ये आपकी सारी फाइनेंशियल सिचुएशंस को कंट्रोल करता है और आपकी एक प्रोफाइल को बेटर करता है इन टर्म्स ऑफ फाइनेंसेस. स्पेसिफिकली फाइनेंस में वीज़ा ऑफिसर यही चीज़ देखते हैं कि जिस भी एजुकेशन को आप करने जा रहे हैं, 2 साल की पढ़ाई, 3 साल की पढ़ाई, 4 साल की पढ़ाई, क्या आप इजीली उसको फंड कर पा रहे हैं या नहीं, आपको कौन स्पॉन्सर कर रहा है, उनकी पीछे से बैकग्राउंड कैसी है. सो विल बी मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट हेयर. लास्ट पॉडकास्ट पे हमें आया था क्वेश्चन कि देयर आर स्टिल लॉट ऑफ पेरेंट्स सेइंग इफ माय किड स्टडीज इन कनाडा, क्या आज भी उनके लिए पॉसिबिलिटी है दैट इफ दे वांट टू स्टे इन द कनाडा फॉर एवर आफ्टर द एजुकेशन, इज that is still possible or not?
Absolutely, it's possible. That's a pathway. You study, you get your 3-year postgraduate work permit, you work and follow all the rules. It's not a guarantee. There was some misunderstanding that work, study, stay was the original term. We used to put it out on our banners.
Yeah.
Work, study,
Yep,
stay.
yep.
Now it is work, study, and apply to stay. And if you meet all the rules and regulations, you haven't done anything, and there's a need. And one of the things I want to say and add here, Canada is big. It is huge. Please don't concentrate on places where there's abundance of people for that job. Move further, move north. It's okay to be a little cold. It's okay to be a little bit isolated, because that's where you're going to get the real experience and adventure of Canada. And Canada is beautiful. 55 years, I haven't had a day where I said, oh my God, what am I doing here? It's clean, it's beautiful, opportunities everywhere. Means if I go to Whitehorse, if I go to Churchill, Manitoba, those are still viable places. Look for jobs, research a lot. One of the things Sean and I say, well, these kids are not researching. They're not going out of their skin to say, I want to have this information. Information is these days readily available. Ask any institution, ask any agencies that work in Canada, what is it that I need to do to get good jobs? I want to speak to you that we have some very strong universities that can be represented here, like University of Waterloo, Alberta, Ottawa, etc. These are U15 universities. I want to tell you that students want to always go there because they think better opportunities with these universities. UBC, University of Victoria, University of Manitoba. If you have those desires, maintain your averages.
Yeah.
Scholarships are limited, but maintain your high averages, be competitive, have your language proficiency well done. And yes, there are some big scholarships in these universities, like U of T has a very big scholarship. But that will not be sufficient to carry you for 4 years.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I would want to know from you, Sean, specifically about the cost of living. So the people here, there is a negative buzz around the air that Canada has become too expensive if we compare it to other part of the world, like maybe US or UK or Australia. So do you still think that Canada is getting a little expensive for an international student compared to the other part of the world?
You know what? Canada, like the rest of the world, cost of living is going up everywhere. We know the cost of groceries, cost of gas, flying, hotels, everything is going up. So the general cost of living is going up, not just for international students, but for Canadians in general too. So in terms of international students, I have international students who rent places in downtown Vancouver. I can't afford those. So, there's the different types of students. So, but then if a student says, you know what, I was trying to rent a place in downtown Vancouver and it's $3,000 or $4,000 and goes on social media, he might not be lying, but that's out of our range. There are places where if you go 20, 30, 40 minutes into the suburbs, and you'll get beautiful places, whether it's a basement suite or an apartment or a shared accommodation or student housing. For example, student housing in Vancouver, right in the suburbs or maybe even in Metro Vancouver, might start from $700, $800, $900 and goes up from there. For $900, if you get a place, a bed, and all your everything, utilities and Wi-Fi and everything is included, I think that's a very good cost. Yes, as students, we want to try to save money. I always encourage my students, yes, you should. In your first semester, you're going to meet some friends on campus. Yes, two of you, three of you can look for a place, get a 2-bedroom suite. Now your rent might go down a little bit. And what we have noticed in the last, I would say, maybe 6 months to 8 months, in general, the rents and the leases in Canada have started to reduce a little bit. They have dropped. And we are seeing that not just in Vancouver. Based on the news I've been reading, it's all over Canada. And maybe is it because of less immigrants coming in? It could be. Could it be because there was an oversupply of housing? There was lots of construction going on, which is good for the country, good for immigrants, good for new students, good for everybody. So I don't think it's a big problem. But if I always give an example. If you bring 5,000 students to Rajuri Garden in Delhi, for example, they might find housing and a job. But if you take
That's
these
correct.
2,000 students and you move into a suburb of Delhi 2 hours away, now there might be a problem finding housing and a job. And those are the guys who might post on social media that I can't find a house. One or two guys will post that. The other hundreds or thousands who have housing, they're not posting on social media that I have housing, I have a roof over my head. They're not posting that.
That's so true. That's so true. This is what even, in fact, a lot of people observe that, yes, you can be too expensive if you have money, but yeah, there are a lot of reasonable places, a lot of reasonable things which you can do. So the next part of our podcast is jobs and career outcomes. There are many students who are thinking that there are no part-time jobs or part-time jobs are very hard to find और एजुकेशन फिनिश करने के बाद भी फुल टाइम जॉब्स हैं वो नहीं मिल रही हैं. So what is your take on that?
You know what? I've actually never really met a student that who couldn't find a job, especially in the Metro Vancouver area. But then there are scenarios. I'll give you one of my own personal experience. I had a boy from Punjab, very good-looking kid, very well dressed, looking for a job, and he sat down with me. He goes, "Sir, I cannot find a job." I go, "We have career counselors." I go, "The shopping center is right across the street. Lots of jobs available." He goes, "No, sir, I drive a nice car. I want a job with a tie." I go, "Okay, yes, I can help you." I go, "What have you done?" He goes, +2. I go, "Fantastic. Can you type?" No. Can you send emails? No. Do you have work experience? No. So now you're looking for a specific job, but you don't have anything to carry yourself to that job. So I recommended him to be a security guard. That I say, "You wear a white shirt and a tie." He got very upset.
Yeah.
And he posted on social media that Alexander College is not giving me jobs. Now that's one posting, but it sees a lot of views, and he'll say Vancouver has no jobs. So now that's the perspective that would be shown in India, that Vancouver has no jobs. My other thousands of students who are working have no time to go on and say that there's no jobs because they're busy. They're going to school. They're doing, their attendance, they're studying, they're doing research, and they're also working 24 hours a week. We have employers coming to our campuses or for almost all institutions looking for students to do part-time jobs. So if somebody says that, I do not know. I mean, we have Amazon, huge warehouse, looking for hundreds of students all the time. It's a perfect fit for students, 24 hours a week, and that's what they're looking for. So jobs are there. It's just that, or the other thing is, a lot of students, Punjabi students, I'm a Punjabi, I tell my students, please, Indian restaurant mein, you want to work, theek hai, kam karna, but that's the thing, we'll get stuck in speaking Punjabi. You go to school, you're living with Punjabis, with Indians, working in there, you wouldn't improve your English. Go outside, like Karuna said, outside your comfort zone. Go look, place, there's so many employers, but you have to be comfortable, have to be confident that you can walk in there, present your resume, talk to them in English, and look for a job. And the opportunity is there. Just don't give up. That's what I say. And employers are desperate for students. There's so much news that where are these students that you are seeing in
Yes.
Canada? Where are they? We don't see them. We need employers. I'll let Karuna continue on this with some of the experiences she has.
So that's Dylan has just said that they are looking for people, but they are looking for the skilled people. The thing which you are applying for, the job you're applying for, should you have or do you have that skill or not? Canadian job markets are still looking for people to work for them. Karuna, I will ask you, what kind of study and what kind of study of field which a student should be studying in, and what are in demand study fields in Canada these days?
Well, I believe that even if you look at what the government has put out, that nurses and education are the two fields that they are giving right for students, extra rights to those students. Anything related to healthcare, anything related to education, anything related to IT, and for bachelor's degree, all the programs in the universities are very viable programs, etc. Students who are coming to study at St. FX in Nova Scotia or UNB undergraduate. And for postgraduate, lots of great masters, University of New Brunswick, Manitoba. Look at the provinces that have shortage, and you can find that information on the website. One of the things I wanted to add on what Sean was saying, I went to Yukon and I went to the Walmart and I saw that all the kids who were working there had come from colleges, and it was a little bit of I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, हमारा पैसा नहीं लगता रहने के लिए, हमारा पैसा नहीं लगता है खाने के लिए, जॉब से हम पैसा जमा कर रहे हैं to buy homes. And these were all floor managers, they were general manager of the one section. I was amazed, and they were not bothered. And they said, हम कहाँ खर्चेंगे ये पैसा? So think of how you are also working for 4 months or 8 months, and where are you working and how are you saving? I live in Victoria, which is a bit of a retirement community and young people's community mixed together. But in that community, so many stores closed, no employees after 8 o'clock. Why aren't you serving? Because we don't have employees. And these are the employees. He will tell you, and I will tell you, that student body makes. But if you say, I'm not going to work in a restaurant, I'm not going to work in construction, I'm not going to, then you are narrowing your. I want to tell you that I'm 55 and I've worked in 7-Eleven store. I have worked making soups in the kitchen, and I was educated. That didn't stop me. And 55 years, not a day without work. So opportunities there. Behti Ganga hai वैसे Canada. You have to take it, and you have to put your mug and get the water out. But if you're afraid to get wet, then Canada is not your place to be.
That's true.
So next part of this is that Canada is a need-based society, and I want Sean to add to that. At this point, what are our needs? Look at that. That list does come out. We don't need bachelors of 2 years, program in business, etc. That's why we took them out. We definitely need healthcare workers. We definitely need nurses. We definitely need educators. And look at that list. The CIC will provide you with that list. And what kind of programs? If you can qualify for masters, you're allowed to bring your family. That's the rules and regulation. And you can afford it. Most masters are $40,000 plus for 2-year program. IELTS requirements are 7. We have many choices. Thompson Rivers has a excellent thing of programs. Look at, don't be stuck that मुझे data science ही करना है. you're a technology graduate, do a master's in technology, do an MBA, expand also in that horizon. There's a wonderful program in Waterloo called Embed, Masters of Business Entrepreneurship and Technology. Great program, only 1 year, and that fear has to come out of your mind कि 1 साल का है तो visa नहीं मिलेगा. It has a 3-year
So
work
true, yeah.
permit. So those are changing rules. It used to be 1 year equals 1, 1.5 equal 1. Now 1 year of master gives you 3 years postgraduate work permit. So those changing rules also should be looked. But always do things that appeal to you, that you'll be happy in it. I don't want that quotient to go down.
Yeah.
Don't be taking something you don't like. But we definitely need healthcare, education, service-oriented, elderly care, human services diploma, community service, mental health, psychology. These are very much needed programs. But that doesn't mean that we don't need Sauder School of Business. We definitely need that as well. But look at your marks, look at the availability, look at your affordability and your happiness quotient, and choose a program by discussing with Kia consultant and see.
Yeah.
They will guide you in many programs. And never apply to one program is my suggestion.
Thank you so much for that. So that's the insight. So I'm sure आप लोग भी experts से सुना, ये लोग वहीं रहते हैं और कई सालों से वहाँ पे हैं. There are jobs, but you need to come to the ground. Canada has mobility rights, so people are moving. You need to move from one city to the other. So there are jobs, but you need to actually start working for that. So the last part of our podcast is an extremely important, especially for parents' point of view, which is safety and well-being. So in the recent past, we've heard a lot of news and through social media कि बहुत ज़्यादा वहाँ पे social conflicts हो रहे हैं और students are not safe. So what do you want to add to that, madam?
I really want to say that, first of all, students should. We believe in peaceful dissent. We do believe that if you have something against our government, you can say, and it's actually appreciated. That's how democracy works. We also believe that if you have a problem within your own community, there is better way to solve than to bring the conflict to the street. I'm saying that as an Indian person, that those conflicts will also be looked at, but there is a way to do that. There is no mass conflicts on the streets. I go to Toronto, I go to Winnipeg, I go to... yes, sometimes there is people holding their flag and saying we are dissatisfied with what Mr. Modi has done or what Nawaz Sharif is doing in Pakistan or what has happened in Sri Lanka or what's happening in Bangladesh. We are aware of it, and we definitely, if we can support as Canadians, we support. I'm a Canadian through and through, and we believe in democratic rights of people to be able to tell us that what we can do. But bringing your problem on the streets of Toronto, which people talk about and show small segment, is not the way I see them. I see very nice, peaceful. I go to gurdwaras, I go to mandirs, nobody is actually fighting with anybody. I don't know who these people are who are showing this, but reality is there always will be conflict between people, and we can say it happened to showcase this and it's over. But it's not an everyday occurrence in our... I have not seen it in Victoria at all. I've seen very little in Vancouver, a little bit more in maybe Toronto area where people have said, we are Khalistanis, we're doing this. But in person, your safety, my safety, his safety, very secure place, very much wanting people to feel at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just add to that a little bit, sorry. It's the safety aspect. I meet a lot of students who come into Vancouver. We have classes that end at 9 p.m. for many institutions. When a student first comes in and they always, especially the female students, you're 17 years old, you came from a village or a city, a smaller city, smaller town, from India or from Nigeria or from Ghana, Philippines, Vietnam, wherever it is, and you think, I shouldn't be out on the streets at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. And then I tell them, I go, no, Vancouver or Canada in general is not such a place. you can be out and about at 9, 10. Always be aware of your surroundings. I'm always aware of my surroundings wherever I am. And that is should be just for everybody.
Yeah.
And generally, nothing happens. The trains are running till 1 a.m., buses are running till 2 a.m. So students finish classes, and then after a few days, they go, oh, yeah, I was walking and nothing happened. Nobody says anything. Everybody goes about their own business. In that sense, Canada is actually a very, very safe place. If you ask any immigrant, why did you move to Canada? Education, safety, healthcare, generally these are the same themes that come up over and over again. So safety, I think, what, if we travel to so many different countries, and you always have to be aware of your surroundings and take
Absolutely.
your safety is your own precaution. You take care of your own safety, be aware of it. So, and that applies to Canada too. I've, touch wood, never experienced anything. My kids have never experienced anything. I've barely met a student. I don't think I've met a student who's complained about safety, actually. I've never met one. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So the expert says इक्का दुक्का ऐसी एक्सीडेंट्स या दुर्घटनाएं कहीं ना कहीं होती हैं, but generally Canada is still considered as one of the safest place for international students to study, and that still is. Thank you for giving these insights. So to end the podcast, I would like to know a few tips from both of you. What are the two, three tips you would like to give to Indian families and Indian students who are applying, who wish to apply in January 26 or May 26 or September 26 intake? What are your tips?
You know what I say? The tips would be prepared to study. That should be the first thing. You should be thinking, or the parents should be thinking, "Bacha beti pe janaya padhai lai." That should be the number one focus. If you come in with that mindset, I think you're going to be very, very successful. That's number one. Then second is, don't just pick a program because my friend said it was easy or my friend said I'll get immigration. I have students ask me, "Sir, which is the easiest program?" I go, "I like economics. Do you like economics?" They go, "No." I go, "So what's easy for me is not easy for you. What's easy for you is not easy for me. So pick something that makes sense to you." And if you do not know, that's where sometimes colleges or smaller institutions will come in handy, because you come in and take a variety of courses, and then you go, "Oh, this interests me," whether it's biology or commerce or economics or English or humanities, and then you pursue an education in that. When you have an interest in something, education becomes easy. I would say that's what I have to say.
Okay,
Karuna,
thank you.
please add to that.
So my 3 points would be: do research before you select a program. Ask the institutions for all the details. Make a list of questions. Okay, that's my first point. My second would be, remember, this is a program where parents are investing a lot of money for you, and you must come into Canada to study and to make a career out of it. It is not that पैसा मेरा माँ बाप का तो मैं कैसे भी खर्चूंगा. Every penny you spend is coming out of somebody's retirement fund.
Yep.
So it's very important that you get a job. I had a job immediately when I landed, and that's in 1970. I came to Canada in 1970, and I've always held a job because it gives you funds, it gives you pride, it also keeps you focused. And my last one is, to succeed once you've come to Canada, please make a timetable. Do not work without knowing when the assignments are due, because if you are plagiarizing, if you're not following academic integrity, if you are not passing, it costs more money for your parents, and now you are failing at the purpose you have come in for. So research, implement the research, apply for a job, apply for a program, then come in, apply for a job, and live a life of happiness without thinking that you should be driving a very nice BMW on the first month that you arrive. And these kids are so funny. Mera idea tha Maserati kharidunga. That doesn't appeal to me. That, I think, is silly conversation. Right now, go to the basic jobs. If it's in a restaurant, grocery store, retail shops, they are hiring people. And please start. Dollar speaks volumes when you have money, and save it. Please save it. And लास्ट बट नॉट लीस्ट, कोई तुम्हें कोई चीज़ खाने के लिए देता, नहीं खानी है, तुम अपने बना के खाओ.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the useful tips and the insights which you've given to me. I'm very much sure that the students will get benefit of the words and the things which you have narrated here. Thank you so much, Karuna ji and Sean, for giving these insights. So I'm sure this podcast must have given huge insights about Canada. And what we can conclude out of the podcast today is number one, why should a student study in Canada? इस कनाडा में अभी भी बहुत सारी ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल हैं इंडियन स्टूडेंट्स के लिए. सेकंड, एडमिशन क्राइटेरिया अभी भी कुछ बड़े नहीं हैं, रादर इंडियंस के लिए एडमिशन क्राइटेरिया बिकॉज ऑफ द इंडस्ट्री घटे हैं. थर्ड, वीज़ा एंड इमिग्रेशन, ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं है कि वीज़ा नहीं लग रहे, परफेक्ट फाइल के वीज़ा लग रहे हैं, बिल्कुल लग रहे हैं. आपकी प्रोफाइल अकॉर्डिंग होनी चाहिए, आपके फाइनेंसेस बिल्कुल स्टेबल होने चाहिए. जिस भी आप कोर्स में अप्लाई कर रहे हैं वो कोर्स बिल्कुल ठीक होना चाहिए. आपके पास PAL अटेस्टेशन लेटर होना चाहिए और बच्चों के वीज़ाज लग रहे हैं कनाडा में. थर्ड, फाइनेंसेस एंड कॉस्ट ऑफ लिविंग. कॉस्ट ऑफ लिविंग हर जगह बढ़ रही है, थोड़ी सी कनाडा में भी बढ़ी है, लेकिन डेफिनेटली ये और डेस्टिनेशन से अभी भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा अफोर्डेबल है. नेक्स्ट, जॉब्स एंड करियर आउटकम्स. पार्ट टाइम जॉब्स और फुल टाइम जॉब्स कनाडा में अभी भी बहुत सारी हैं, प्रोवाइडेड आप करने के लिए इच्छुक हों. और जिस भी आप जॉब के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हैं, आपका कैलिबर, आपके स्किल्स उस जॉब कैटेगरी से मैच कर रही हैं. इनफैक्ट बहुत सारी जगहों पर ऐसा है कि जॉब्स हैं लेकिन कैंडिडेट्स नहीं हैं. अभी भी कनाडा ऐसा है. लास्ट, सेफ्टी एंड वेलबींग. Canada is still one of the safest place in the world. कुछ 2-3 और वीडियोस को अगर आप नेगेटिव वीडियोस को हटाएं तो आज भी बिल्कुल पीसफुल कंट्री है. वहाँ बहुत पीस रहता है, कोई ऐसी एक्सीडेंट्स वगैरह नहीं हुए हैं, कोई ऐसा प्रोटेस्ट नहीं है वहाँ पे. एंड दैट इज़ द रीज़न Canada still hold at the top destination for international students. Thank you so much.